All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Happy Thursday, beautiful people. Animalistic nature, Oahspe College University. I woke you up on top of the morning to you, bright and early. It's the earliest bird that owns the day. You know how they say the early bird catches the worm? But it's the earliest bird that owns the day. Ema, Grand Rising, Tabitha, Shalom, Shalom, Kendrick, Shalom. She said, Shalom to the faith is near and far. Auntie, Belinda Brown, Grand Thursday, Hannah, Grand Rising. And everybody else here already hanging out in the background. Top of the day to you. All right, beautiful people. So we are picking back up in Oahspe, Book of Asham, Son of Jehovah, on page 47. And we are starting in chapter 6. Yep. Yeah, chapter 6. And then after we get done here, I think we're going to read like 2 chapters. Yeah, we're going to read like 2 chapters. Hold on, let me see. Suitable. Just want to make sure I wasn't cutting nothing off. Because ain't nobody got to go to work today, I don't think. Everybody off today? For the most part. We'll just read these 2 chapters. Then we're gonna hop back here and we're gonna read Appendix C starting on page 267. And then if we got a few minutes left, we'll start in chapter 5. All right. Y'all, we got a real live current case study going on with what just happened. You know, prayers for the families, and now I know for the souls who were lost in chaos on the battlefield, right? Go figure. This Walmart was on Battlefield Boulevard here in Chesapeake. Well, I live in Suffolk now, but our business location is still in Chesapeake, and we lived there for many years. But yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested in when they start releasing some details about this particular person who committed this crime. And now with what we're learning from here, I'm interested in looking into his background. Because, you know, when something like this happened, they always get all the facts they can find about family, everybody that worked with him, what's been going on. They check through the police database for any priors, anything like that, right? To kind of give people an understanding of what really took place here, you know. So I'm going to be following this one kind of close, you know, as close as I can with all the information they release. Uncle JB, top of the day to you, Unc. All right, y'all, so let's get started. Father, we thank you that you have inspired your children to dwell in families and communities. We'll say that today. All right, y'all. Chapter 6, page 47, or chapter VI, if you have the electronic version and you kind of just scrolling. All the first best angels of atmosphere were brought away from the earth and housed in Yeshua. Remember, Yeshua is a place, right? And not a person at this point, right? It's just a place. That's what they name it. It's the place of rest and relaxation, salvation. All the first best angels of atmosphere were brought away from the earth and housed in Yeshua, being placed at a school and in factories made new in heaven. These were Ehims. The second first best spirits were brought also, but placed in hospitals and nurseries of those who had advanced to receive the second resurrection. God said, build an Etherean ship and take them to this TV, yeah. Build an Etherean ship and take them to this TV in Ethereum. So it came to pass there were 200 million raised to the second resurrection of the grade 35. This TV lieth betwixt Ethera and 7 Agi, which is the lowest of the Etherian heavens, next to an atmospheric abode. And after abode, we have reference to letter C. And C at the end of the chapter says, it's on page 51, 7 Agi describes the density of that region of Agi. This is the greatest density that an Ethereal region can have and remain distinctly separate from the atmosphere in heavens below. All right, jump back to page 47. Verse 5. God said, 2 qualities have I left in Yeshua, first and second. These shall be the new kingdom after I am ascended. For these I will raise up a God and lords, and they shall rule over the lower heaven and the earth, and they shall bequeath to others after them to rule in like manner. Thus was founded the second light of Jehovah on the fruit of the earth. God's Ethereal host became as a training school to raise up a God and lords and marshals and Essenars and all other officers and men and women for a lower heaven. God said, Yeshua shall not approach nearer the earth, nor shall it be as horrid where spirits of darkness might easily approach. 100 million spirits did God and his lords and fellow laborers bring from the earth to Yeshua, and they were placed in a brotherhood or portion in the places suited to their talents. And God divided the time of study and of recreation and of music and of discipline, marching and so on, suited to all the people, and it was a place of order and glory. For without discipline, there is nothing. We're on verse 8, page 47. Hold on, y'all. Bella, you okay? Bella, you okay? You need some water? Okay. Okay, y'all. My house still pulling together on the health side with the kids and stuff. I don't know what, like I said the other day, I don't know what in the world going around. I've been juicing for them and everything. It's taking a little while. But they definitely have more strength than what they did the last couple of days. They moving around a little bit better. So Bella actually woke up, and because they hadn't really eaten anything, you know, I didn't make them. I just had told them, like, sip as much as you can of the juice or whatever, sip on their water. But Bella woke up yesterday saying she was hungry. So that was the first time she really ate anything, and she didn't eat much, not even, because I gave her, she asked for some fruit. So I gave her some fruit, gave her like a handful of fruit. She didn't eat all that. But then after she had that, she walked around for a little bit, and she said, Mom, I need to go lay back down. She laid back down. Like, my kids don't ever lay down. That's how you know something, you know, they fighting something. So, but they're definitely doing a little bit better today. I finally got their fevers and temperatures and stuff to break. But yeah, y'all. So remember, if y'all children have temperatures and stuff, I mean, all y'all kids is probably grown. Don't send them out, because it's some people that's not, you know, they're not using good common sense, right? And get other people sick. All right, verse 8. For without discipline, there is nothing, and discipline cannot be without ceremony, nor ceremony without rites and forms and established words. Is it not a foolish soldier that saith, Behold, I am wise. Behold, I am wise. I need no discipline nor manual of arms. What is more is than one. Hold on. What more? Oh, I'm flopping the words around. Okay, let me read the whole verse again. Verse 8, page 47. For without discipline, there is nothing, and discipline cannot be without ceremony, nor ceremony without rites and forms and established words. Is it not a foolish soldier that saith, Behold, I am wise. I need no discipline nor manual of arms. What more is he than one of an untutored mob? God said, As I drill them in heaven to make them a unit, so give ye to mortals rites and ceremonies, that coming into heaven they go not back to their old haunts and fall in darkness. Whatever tendeth to harmonize the behavior of individuals is of the Father. The opposite tendeth to evil. Better is it that men march to the sound of one monotonous word than not to march at all. The value lieth not in the word, but in bringing in unison that which was void. A fool saith, I need not pray. There is no virtue in words, but his soul groweth up at variance with Jehovah. Neither is there more virtue in the prayer or the words than in marching. And after marching, in parentheses, it says sacred dance. Neither is there more virtue in the prayer or the words than in marching, sacred dance before Jehovah. For whatever tendeth to unite men in one expression of soul and harmony is Jehovah's. So whether you dance or whether you pray, if you're doing it together and it's uniting you, it's Jehovah's. Let me read it all again. I'm going to go back to 8. Just make sure we're keeping it in context. It's proper context. For without discipline, there is nothing. And discipline cannot be without ceremony, nor ceremony without rites and forms and established words. Is it not a foolish soldier that saith, Behold, I am wise, I need no discipline, nor manual of arms? What more is he than one of an untutored mob? God said, As I drill them in heaven to make them a unit, so give ye to mortals rites and ceremonies, that coming into heaven they go not back to their old haunts and fall in darkness. Whatever tendeth to harmonize the behavior of individuals is of the Father. The opposite tendeth to evil. So if it's harmonizing you towards the Father, then it's a good thing. Whatever tendeth to harmonize the behavior of individuals is of the Father. The opposite tendeth to evil. Better is it that men march to the sound of one monotonous word than to not march at all. The value lieth not in the word, but in bringing in unison that which was void. This is good. A fool saith, I need not pray. There is no virtue in words, but his soul groweth up at variance with Jehovah. Neither is there more virtue in the prayer or the words than in marching, sacred dance before Jehovah. For whatever tendeth to unite men in one expression of soul and harmony is Jehovah's. Sacred dances and rites and ceremonies were established in Yeshua in the name of Jehovah, and the new heaven became a place of delight. God said, Teach my chosen to labor hard and wisely, and to dance with energy, and to sing with strength and fullness of soul. For what more is there in any man or woman than to learn to put forth? And what more pitiful thing is there in heaven than a man or woman who hath but dragged along? Sheesh. Lazing around. Hold on. Let me get some water. Probably should have my water ready to go before I start, shouldn't I? Sometimes I don't. I'm gonna clear my throat. All right. Chapter 7. Hold on, another sip. I gotta make sure I keep myself straight. Dealing with them, they coughing and they fevers and stuff. I think I juiced a whole bag of grapefruit yesterday and sucked it down. Chapter 7, verse 47. When all the first best spirits of the lower heaven and such as dwelt with mortals were taken away and domiciled in Yeshua, there were left only 3 Druhas. I'm sorry, not 3. The number 3 is after Druhas. Hold on. When all the first best spirits of the lower heaven and such as dwelt with mortals were taken away and domiciled in Yeshua, there were left only Druhas, spirits of darkness on the face of the earth. And after Druhah, like I said, it has the number 3. And 3 at the bottom says Druj or Druhas. It has the AS in square brackets. It says, Drew Haas. All subsequent similar changes are not footnoted. See editor's note number 4. I forgot editor's note number 4. That's all the way at the beginning. Hold on. Hey, sweetie. It's up there in the cabinet, y'all. Number 4. Okay, on page 19, or all the way at the beginning, in the editor's notes, where it says page XIX, number 4 says, in many instances, the 1882 edition used Druj, D-R-U-J, while the 1891 edition used Drujas, D-R-U-J-A-S, for the plural noun. Okay, I'll read verse 1 over again. BC, Shalom, Anita, greetings. Cucumbers. Oh, I bought a bunch of them yesterday. Yep, I'm going to cut them up. Yeah. Remember, don't eat the skin of cucumbers, y'all. That's almost like eating the skin of watermelon, for real. I mean, you can. I used to. I stopped doing it when I was, matter of fact, I hadn't even heard about it, but when I was pregnant with Bella, I couldn't stomach it anymore. Like, I could eat the inside of it, but the outside would make me sick, you know? So from that point, when I was pregnant with her, she's 6 now, before I started eating my cucumbers, I peeled them. And it wasn't till like she was, I want to say 4, when I actually found out although people do, you really shouldn't be consuming the skin of cucumbers. I'm like, Bella taught me that. All right. All right, I'll read verse 1 again, chapter 7, page 47. When all the first best spirits of the lower heaven and such as dwelt with mortals were taken away and domiciled in Yeshua, there were left only Druhas, spirits of darkness on the face of the earth. For 1 whole year, God left the earth void of Jehovah's light. Mortals loved more to commune with the spirits of their kindred who knew little of heaven than they did with Etherians who were wise and holy. God said, what man or woman have ye found who saith, come ye angels of Jehovah, tell me wherein I can do more good works, for I thirst and am hungry to serve Jehovah with all my wisdom and strength in doing good to my fellows. Rather do they turn away from such and drink in the tales of the strolling Druge, and so wrap themselves up in darkness. Hold on. Hey, y'all, turn that TV down up there. Rather do they turn away from such and drink in the tales of the strolling Druge, and so wrap themselves up in darkness. For this reason shall they find darkness in heaven and earth, and they shall be as one who is sick and broken down in conceit. When the year of darkness was ended, God sent pruners around about the earth, and in the lower heaven of the earth, 2 million pruners sent he forth, saying to them, find all the evil spirits dwelling with mortals, where they be fetals or familiars, and gather them into one place. Then find the spirits and fairies who have taken up caves and waterfalls on the earth as their abode, and bring them to the same place. Then find the idiotic and the chaotic, then find the idiotic and chaotic spirits who dwell on battlefields, and bring them to the same place. Then find the lusters who dwell in old castles and ruined cities, and in the houses of evil, and when they're going out for raids on mortals, seize them and bring them to the same place. The Etherians went and collected the evil spirits and the spirits of darkness belonging to the earth, and brought them to a place in atmosphere, and there were of them 900 million. God said, prepare a ship suitable to transport them to Hadau in Gia, and there provide them a kingdom to themselves, giving them a God and lords and proper officers to discipline and educate them for Jehovah's kingdoms. Thus they were removed, and the earth and its lower heaven were purified from evil spirits by the decree of God in Yeshua in the 2nd year of the first dawn of Dan. Go back up to verse 7. And after Jiyah, where it says, prepare a ship suitable to transport them to Hadal and Jiyah. After Jiyah is reference letter D. On page 51, D says, Hadal and Jiyah is a place in the firmament like an atmosphere without a corporal world. That is, an atmospheric vortex rotating and traveling in the firmament amidst the Ethereal worlds. 1882 edition. Speaking of vortex, it just reminded me of something yesterday I was looking at. You know how they, this has nothing to do with what we're reading. You know how these videos lately been showing these sheep and stuff going around in circles, like they're calling it bizarre behavior of livestock and stuff. And so I looked into it just a little bit. Nobody really has an explanation, a good explanation, really. You know, they're talking about maybe they're, I don't know. I seen a couple, some people trying to explain it. They said it could be something wrong mentally, or they, what's the word they used? Some kind of parasite or something that could be attacking them and causing a strange behavior. I'm like, nah, that could be plausible. I don't know. And for that to happen, they would probably have to have some kind of infection, or maybe eat some grass that was molded or stale, or whatever. It could have been bad grass. But you have it in different places. But I noticed also, this is not like a recent thing that's happened either. It's happened, some people got some videos posted from a few years ago where the same thing was happening with livestock. And so I was looking at, I'm like, they seem to be, well, clearly you can tell that they're all walking around in circles. Kimtra, it could be BC, right? It could be. But I'm wondering why it's affecting certain group of livestock and not like, well, you can't really say it's not affecting other animals. Maybe nobody has walked upon it or seen it, recorded on camera, uploaded for everybody to see. I don't know. But I don't know. When I was watching it and as I was looking at them, I was like, man, they moving like, I was wondering, I was like, they're moving in circles like this. And I started thinking about the vortex. I was like, I'm wondering if there's like a portal there, or some type of vortexian energy, because they're like imperfect. Some people say like crop circles and stuff. I was like, that's interesting. I'm wondering. I was like, because I didn't see anybody say anything. Clearly, I wasn't looking for nobody to use the word vortex, you know. But from all the comments and stuff I was reading, nobody even looked at that it could possibly be something with like I don't know, something alluding to like a vortex or something in the atmosphere other than this density here, right? In the spiritual world, it could be like a vortex, or like I said, a portal or something right there. And maybe they just kind of got caught up in it. I don't know, but that's what I was thinking. I don't know. This is my theory at this point. I can't prove it. I ain't close to none of it. Otherwise, somebody could go and probably feel like the spiritual energy that's surrounding that place or whatever. And if you're trained enough, you could probably just see into it and see exactly what it is. I haven't really got to that point yet. I aspire to be at that point soon. I think it's going to take many more days of fasting and getting my own flesh under control, right? I don't know. But I think it got something to do with that. I could be wrong. You know, science is going to come up with something. At least they have it in the last couple of years to kind of figure out what's going on. I don't know. But they're going to figure out some kind of way to explain away the situation, so to speak. I don't know. But I think it's a more spiritual explanation for what's happening. All right. And I could be wrong. I don't know. But at this point, that's just my take on it. Anyway, go to page 267 in the Field Guide to the Spirit World. Appendix C, trauma. And if anybody looked into it and know what I'm talking about, you got your thoughts, share with a sister. Let me know what you think about it. Okay. So remember, we're reading Appendix C because at the end of chapter 4, soul murder. It gave us the reference where it goes into a little bit more detail about like the traumas and what opens, exposure to death and traumas early on in life that opens people up to do things like what we saw just happen here in Chesapeake and many other places all over. I ain't even gonna say the United States anymore, all over the world really, because we hear reports about this happening in other places too. All right. Okay, so Appendix C, trauma, page 267. The trail where we are following starts with a traumatic event so overwhelming as to send psyche reeling, catapulted into the intangible, the next zone of existence, referred to variously as the threshold, the void, the second state, elsewhere, and so on. Although we have legal beagles who disdain the, quote, abuse excuse, end quote, the stark reality remains. Our multiples and our most serious sociopaths were almost all victims of early trauma. The fact that many serial killers suffered severe head trauma has never been properly factored in. That's interesting. That's one thing I'm going to be looking for too as this case proceeds on. And also something I don't know, it could be, depending on the people, I'm not trying to be like, because it's still fresh. I don't want to be like, I don't want to be insensitive to the situation, like trying to classify what this is, right? So I hope nobody take this as that, but I'm really thinking about it. What they did bring out about this person is that they have, it was like the person was in management, right? In management, and they targeted management. And there was a news clip. I'm not sure if they're still showing it, but one young lady who was actually, from what she said, allegedly, there was a meeting going on with all the management, and this is where it happened. And she was in the meeting, but she had actually just started working there 5 days ago. It came out that it wasn't some random person that walked in. It was somebody that actually worked there. When I started hearing, I was like, I wonder if this was somebody that worked there that kind of got fed up with the crap, trying to be, trying not to be insensitive. But come to find out, listening to it throughout the day, some of these facts came out, and the young lady who she identified herself, her name is Jessie, said that when he came in, he told her to get out. Like, he said her name. So clearly she knew who he was too. He said to her, Jessie, go home. Jessie, go home. And then he just started shooting, she said, from left to right in the room or whatever, and it was targeted at management. So I was sitting there thinking about this. Remember how before this happened, the morning we was talking about this, I was saying, and this didn't happen till later that night, till like 10 o'clock that night. What was this? What's today? We talked about this Tuesday morning. This happened Tuesday night. Tuesday morning. Remember how I was saying that I think that there should be spiritual people, not just really training your job physically, but you should be trained spiritually, especially if you work in hospitals, you're a graveyard digger, you work in a mortuary, anything surrounding death, and not just death, like really everywhere. Psychiatrists, they really need to be trained spiritually as well as in their physical craft and understanding human behavior. I think everybody, as you grow, everybody, and I think I say that everybody needs that spiritual growth, that spiritual understanding, especially management. Now, I'm not sure exactly what was happening, where it even got this far, where nobody in management could pick it up, right? That something wasn't quite right. And a lot of times those responding to it, like the police officers and everybody else, they're responding to what's already happened. So they don't even know what's been happening, like I said, unless there's been like previous instances where they had run-ins with the law. But a lot of times that's not really the case. So when they come in, they're reacting to what's already happened. The people that are going to be able to stop stuff like this happening are the people that work with them day by day. You thought I was supposed to go live yesterday, BC? No. We was observing the Sabbath yesterday. But the people that's going to be able to figure this out and kind of stop this stuff from happening is the people, like I said, that work with them day by day. What about the other people in Walmart? You know, were they not spiritually sensitive? Have they not been spiritually trained? Like, and management, being targeted at management should be very well trained. And I understand that we're not, but I'm just saying, in a perfect world where things aren't willy-nilly, understanding, and even by dwelling in families, you know, coming together in families. What's the matter, Zay? What you do? Hold on, y'all. Let me see. Oh, no, that was because your lips was dry. Come here. Yeah. Yeah. Gotta keep your lips moisturized. Drink some more water. When your lips are real dry, that means you're dehydrated a little bit. Yeah. Keep that on your lips. Stay healed. What? It's my nose. Oh, yeah, go. Don't touch nothing. Just like wash your hands. Hold on, y'all. His lips was dry. I've been keeping Carmex on it, but I ain't putting it on before I came downstairs. His lips dry. You know, you get dehydrated. Your lips being dry is a telltale sign of that. But he also got like a nosebleed. So he, I guess, coughing, stretching his lips out. The side of his lip was bleeding. Try to like cough in your arm, son. Don't. What are you doing? What you trying to get? Yeah, take that. Come here. Let me see something. All right, you good. Just, did you flush that down the toilet? All right. You wash your hands? Hold on. Wait, you all right? Why you touching stuff? Okay. All right. Janita, hey girl, hey. Peace and light. Shalom, shalom. Shayla, hey girl, hey. Hold on. They probably sleeping. Look, so it should be people in management should be able to tell. I mean, and even if not, you can tell when people's energy is off, right? Like, even if you don't know nothing else, when you get around people, you can tell their energy off. And even if you can't tell that, you can tell people who are, like, withdrawn and have, like, gone inward and stuff. Like, you can just tell something ain't right, you know. But you also have it to where people just put on the show like everything is okay. And that's when you need discernment. You know, wait a minute, something, you know, they normally seem like a happy person, but, you know, that's where really good spiritual training comes in, that to see that there's a rift somewhere in the spiritual realm and be able to pick that up before something gets out of hand like this. And a lot of times, working in different places, and I've worked in a few different places, and sometimes, just like in school where kids can be cruel, adults can be cruel too. They like ignore you, and people form cliques and stuff. It's just a lot of things that contributes to things that are already going wrong spiritually. Yes. Yes.
They got another one.
I know. I just told him to get it. Are there no more?
No more. That was only my first one.
All right. Well, I gotta run back out to the store. I'll get some more. All right. I'll get some more. Give me a little bit. Wait. If something open, if it's open. They may be open early. I'll go over to the store shortly and see if they got some more. I should have grabbed 2 boxes, but okay. You good? Okay. All right. Now make sure y'all washing your hands.
Mom, I can make
You absolutely can. I'll call you when I'm ready for you, sis. All right. All right. All right. But yeah, you know, people should be able to, somebody should be able to feel that. You know, I'm certain of it. You know, it's just it's interesting. Like I said, I'm gonna be following this for a little while. You know, all right. So we got off on that where it was talking about the severe head trauma. I'll just read the first paragraph again. Page 267. The trail we are following starts with a traumatic event so overwhelming as to send psyche reeling, catapulted into the intangible, the next zone of existence referred to variously as the threshold, the void, the second state, elsewhere, and so on. Although we have legal beagles who disdain the, quote, abuse excuse, end quote, the stark reality remains. Our multiples and our most serious sociopaths were almost all victims of early trauma. The fact that many serial killers suffered head trauma has never been properly factored in. It is, however, not brain damage per se, but precarious states of consciousness, in a word, psyche exteriorized. Many of us have heard of the formula, quote, fight or flight, end quote, which portrays the survival instinct at work when faced with a mortal threat. If the menace cannot be confronted or fought off, the only alternative is escape, flight. And it is no different for psyche when faced with terror, shock, or pain. The mind naturally seeks escape from life's bombshells. A sudden insult to the organism triggers the flight response, absenting from self. Isn't this what causes the shell of a person? This, quote, garage without a car, end quote. Something in his or her experience, something traumatic, has occasioned the disconnect, the flight from self, which in psychologies is known blandly as dissociation. Shock, injury, grave illness, surgery under anesthetics, pure terror, and unconsciousness all represent the lowest possible state of human vitality, and it is in this state that the mind is rendered utterly defenseless, hence unable to resist, quote, the intrusion of a strong spirit personality. This is involuntary possession, end quote. Maury, 1988, and page 76. It is equally compelling to discover how many top-flight mediums began their psychic career in accidents, injury, or illness. Sylvan J. Muldoon, Vincent N. Turvey, and Oliver Fox, all well-known sensitives of the early 20th century, quote, had their psychic faculties intensified by long periods of illness, end quote. Battersby, 1979, X, page 10. Maybe it's a Roman numeral X, yeah, page 10, or somewhere in the introduction. Sylvan Muldoon, in a sleigh accident, was thrown out on his head. He promptly left his body and saw himself lying motionless by the side of the road. Ena Twigg, suspended above her body, was likewise aware of herself lying below doing a surgery under anesthetic. Dr. Girdham has shown that psychism is more likely to occur, quote, after long debilitating illnesses such as typhoid and cholera. Did I say that right? Cholera. End quote. 1982, page 53. It was known, for example, that Nettie Maynard had suffered both fragile health and protracted illnesses since childhood, having tempted death as she lay ill with typhus fever at age 8. Remember Nettie Maynard? We read about her in Oahspe. She was the one who went to President Lincoln, right? Okay. It was known, for example, that Nettie Maynard had suffered both fragile health and protracted illnesses since childhood, having tempted death as she lay ill with typhus fever at age 8. She was, in hindsight, but one of countless mediums and seers who had survived serious childhood illnesses only by some miracle. D.D. Home, Lawrence C. Venom, Eileen Garrett, Reverend Stanton Moses. As for the last, the great British seer, William Stanton Moses, who would pass into spirit the same year as Miss Maynard, 1892, he was once told by his controls that, quote, the tempering effect of a bodily illness has been all your life an engine of great power with us, end quote. Let me read that again. He was once told by his controls that, quote, the tempering effect of a bodily illness has been in all your life an engine of great power with us, end quote. We also learned that Mrs. Piper's psychic powers were strongest during the times of poor health. During the period of an ovarian tumor, her readings were most accurate. Her spirit operator would fade away when her health returned. That's interesting because remember when I was, remember I told y'all like when I was sick with COVID, that's when like a bunch of dead people, like I would randomly throughout my life dream about people that I knew that had passed away. But since that happened, it's like I can feel them, like people that have passed away, like, and I was seeing them in great bunches, and it scared me because I didn't know what was happening. I'm like, oh my God, I thought I'm about to die. Why am I seeing all these dead people? Like people like literally that I knew from the military that had passed away. A gentleman that used to live right next door to us, about 2 houses, not the house we just moved to, but the one before that we lived at for like 5 years. He got shot. He was there. And like, they was like all coming to me, like trying to tell me something. I'm like, what in the world? I'm like, what they trying to tell me I'm next? Like, seriously, I thought I was going to die when I had COVID, y'all. But I started seeing them. And even as I was getting better, I kept dreaming about them and seeing them. And I just I'm like, it's just kind of like almost become normal. So now I'm just like, okay, I think it's because my understanding has increased. And I understand a whole lot more, things spiritually now than what I did back then. I'm just like, okay, I don't know. Maybe they come in here to hear information that I'm reading from Oahspe. I don't know, right? But I ain't talking to none of y'all. Why is y'all here? Gone somewhere now. Listen, so like when people, I know some people make fun of people and joke people about this, and they even put it in movies talking about some I see dead people. Like that's a real thing, right? But I thank the Father for my sanity of mind and my strong spirit, right? Yeah. Hold on. The second paragraph from the bottom. We also learned, page 268, we also learned that Miss Piper's psychic powers were strongest during times of poor health. During the period of an ovarian tumor, her readings were most accurate. Her spirit operator would fade away when her health returned. Unfortunately, these seers, Piper, Muldoon, Home, Garrett, Moses, and Maynard, are in the minority, having turned their weakness for spirit into an asset, the gift. Most others afflicted in childhood become the hapless victims of obsession, possession, multiple personality, and other quote, disorders, end quote. Billy Milligan, MPD, raped by his stepfather. Sybil, the famous multiple, sexually tortured by her mother. Jersey, possessed, molested by her father, and so on. The pattern remains consistent as we shift focus to obsessive compulsive disorder. Dr. Rappaport supplies many examples from among her OC patients. Jacob had collapsed at age 8 of a bleeding cerebral aneurysm and fell into a coma. The obsessed boy Zach also studied by Rappaport, 1989, page 45, underwent 7 operations for congenital intestinal problems, which Rappaport, oddly enough, mistakenly characterized as, quote, unrelated to his OCD, end quote. Although any one of these illnesses, shocks, or blows might thrust psyche toward no man's land, head trauma is by far the leading cause of troubles. Nothing can disrupt or disorient personality more than concussion. The head, after all, was long considered the seat of the soul. In the heyday of spirit circles,
here's what I found.
Girl, I wasn't talking to you. Look, headache classification committee of the international, and it gave me a whole journal reference. 1.3 chronic migraine were published in what? Cephalalgia. The classification committee endorsed these charges, asking for it. Now I ain't gonna open the page. It just opened this up. But I was gonna say something about me being younger when I had a head trauma. I feel me and my sister were playing inside the house. Well, you know them balls, them bouncy balls. Like, you find them in Walmart. You can, like, blow them up. But they're kind of rubbery and you can bounce them. We were playing with one of them in the house, and my mama told that was, she knew who was playing. But what I had started doing, when my sister Alicia, she would roll the ball to me or kick it to me. Instead of me kicking it with one leg, I decided I was going to jump and kick with both of my feet. And my mama told me to stop. And I didn't listen. She said, because you might fall, but that's what happened. When I jumped, I think it was probably like the 3rd time. And instead of me kicking the ball when it came, the ball got under my feet. And then I went on top of the ball, rolled, fell, and hit my head on the floor, right? And I think I was crying for a while, and I think my mom, I forget how my hair was done, but however it was done, I want to say it was braided or something, but she loosened it up, but from that point, I remember having migraine headaches, like literally all my life. That's my in the military, my disability because of the migraines and stuff, but yeah, it's crazy. But I don't know if before then, like I said, I've been having things happen to me, like spiritually, like being able to see stuff in dreams and visions from the time of a child. I'm not sure if it started before then or after then. I'm really not too sure, So this a lot of this stuff about head trauma and the seat of the soul and all this is really, really interesting to me. And I think when that happened, when I hit my head like that, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Did my mama come in? I don't know if she's here. She might be here just hanging out in the background. I don't remember how old I was. I could have been like 5 or 6. Because we were staying out Point Terrace. Maybe I was like 5 or 6. I don't know. I'm going to have to ask her today. See if she remember. But anyway. Let me go. Okay, 2nd paragraph, page 269. Although any one of these illnesses, shocks, or blows might thrust psyche toward no man's land, head trauma is by far the leading cause of troubles. Nothing can disrupt or disorient personality more than the concussion. The head, after all, was long considered the seat of the soul. In the heyday of spirit circles, sitters were told by their controls that they, the invisible operators on the other side, act upon the brains of the sitters to accomplish the phenomena of the seance room. One PSI researcher put it plainly in a chapter titled, quote, How to Become a Psychic by Falling on Your Head, end quote. I don't know. I might make that the title. I saw a couple other things. I don't know. That if I put that as a title, that's going to be the only thing. I only get so many characters in the subject line. One PSI researcher put it plainly in a chapter titled, quote, How to Become a Psychic by Falling on Your Head, end quote. His examples include Edgar Casey, the famous sleeping prophet who as a child was knocked out by a baseball. There was also the well-known Dutch psychic Peter Herkos, who fell off a 40-foot ladder, suffering damage to the brainstem. Oh my gosh, I just thought about another time I got hit in the head with a football. Y'all seen that episode of Brady Bunch? When Greg and his brothers outside throwing the football, and Marshall go outside. I think she was going out there to tell them to come in and eat or something. And she walked out right in the line of the football, and boom. Oh, my nose. Oh, my nose. That episode was extremely funny to me because that happened to me. Did the same thing. Yes, babe.
She said I eat up everything.
Okay, you talking about the freeze pop he got?
Yeah.
But you had one too. It was Josh. See, they get a little better. There they go. That's what I like to see, shenanigans first thing in the morning. They feel a little bit better. Shebrew, hey girl, hey. But listen, that same thing happened. I walked outside the house. My cousins was outside in the front yard throwing the football. And my oldest cousin, Xavier, and he's a lot stronger than everybody else. But he was throwing the football, I think, to my cousin Maurice, and I didn't see it. And I walked out there, and boom, right in my nose. Like right, not like right in my nose, but like right above it, like right almost between my eyes. But I felt the flesh, the meat of the football hit my nose when the point of it hit me right there, just like, I don't know. I just felt it all. Maybe it was the reverberation from the ball hitting there where I thought it, but it was like a perfect bow right between the eyes, right? My nose, what's crazy is I don't even remember having a nosebleed. You know, my nose didn't bleed, but, and I didn't even get like a black eye. It was just, my face was just on fire for like the next couple days. But it didn't leave a mark, maybe because of where it hit. But everything all in here, it was like on fire. And I felt like my face had swollen to be this big. But it didn't. You know, it was just on fire and it was throbbing. And you get close to it, it be hurting, right? It's like the heat waves from your hand would come in and hit my face. But yeah, so that's the second time I can remember hurting my head in a way. Falling, hitting the floor, and having a football hit me right there. And then I fell out the tree. I was a tomboy. I was climbing the tree. I didn't hit my head that hard. But when I hit more my back, I fell out the tree. And when I fell, you know how the roots come out the ground? I fell on my back. And I'm just grateful to the Father that I didn't have any kind of spinal injury. Because when I fell, I landed right on it, like sideways. Like, say the root coming out the ground like this. When I fell like this. You know, and I hit my head on the ground. So that's like 3. But that time, I barely hit the ground because I was trying to, like, catch myself. So I didn't go, like, head first. It was like an even fall, but I think my body took most of the blow. But my head did eventually hit the ground, but not hard. So that's like 3. It's crazy. Okay, listen. One PSI researcher put it plainly in a chapter titled, quote, "How to Become Psychic by Falling on Your Head," end quote. His examples included Edgar Casey, the famous sleeping prophet who as a child was knocked out by a baseball. There was also well-known Dutch psychic Peter Herkos, who fell off a 40-foot ladder, suffering damage to the brainstem. He woke up in a hospital, a mind reader. After the accident, Peter's parents said he was now, quote, someone else, end quote. In a similar case, quote, CE, end quote, was possessed by a dead Austrian artist. He, CE, had earlier been hospitalized with a serious head injury. One of the earliest and best documented cases of, quote, secondary personality, end quote, was that of Doris Fisher. Doris, in fact, was multiple MPD. The first alter had come on board when Doris was only 3. Her drunken father had thrown her down so violently that her head was injured. Another personality emerged when she was 18 after she suffered an injury to her head and back. First of all, for this to happen so quick like this in a moment, because think about fear, right? Say if you've ever been extremely afraid, like that quick moment when that fear hits you, and sometimes it could linger for a few minutes, just depending on the situation of what's happening, right? I had quite a few of them little panic moments, right? But just imagine all the spirits that have been lingering around for a while, just waiting for this particular moment, for this to happen where somebody could come and possess you, right? I'm just like, I just sit back and think, I'm like, there was so many of those moments in my life. I'm like, Father, and I thank you. I said, I can hear stuff outside of me. I said, but I thank you that I don't feel like that there is something in me other than me. You know, so I thank the Father for his protection and all this stuff, like being shot at while living in Illinois, literally being shot at. In the car got shot up. The police said because of the car we were in, we were still alive. The metal on that old car, what was it? It was it was my boyfriend's car. It was one of them old ones. It was made with that, what was it? Was it a Caprice? I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was a Caprice, but the car had got shot up. And then I was working in a movie theater where we got robbed. Dude came in. I was behind the counter. He robbing the ticket booth. And I'm down there. You talking about somebody scared. You know you scared when you trying to fit into the cup cabinet. Cup cabinet, right? Cup. Cabinet is only as wide enough as the cups, right? You got the cups and you got the cup cabinet. About this wide. It's about this long because the cup bags came, they was probably like this. You can take them and just slide them in there. There was no place to run. If I jumped over the counter or ran out, I was thinking he'd probably shoot me in the back, right? Talking about somebody freaking out, fear. When that was the opportune time for multiples to come into anybody. Think about people who get scared, like really, really scared, and they literally run to their death, right? They're so afraid, they're not paying attention to what's happening around them, and they do something foolish in that moment and end up killing themselves. Fear will literally make you kill yourself, right? It is crazy what can happen at these moments. Shebrew, hey girl, hey. Tabitha said, remember in the Harriet Tubman story, she had a head injury which caused her sick. Right? I remember that. I remember that. A real car, yeah. I set apart if you're talking about us being in the car. Yeah, it was a real car that we were in. They shot it up. But yeah, it was bullet holes all through that car, you know. But after a few, like when the car was backing up, because my boyfriend was driving it. His brother was driving it. He was a passenger. First of all, we were somewhere we weren't supposed to be, right? Had I not been there that night, I would never have this story for y'all. I don't know. It was like a real metal, whatever it was made of. I want to say it was I'm gonna have to find out what kind of car that was. I'll let y'all know. I want to say it was a Caprice. It was like a 80. It was an 80s model, definitely a 80s model car. Cause and he lived in Chicago, right? So they like these old school cars and everything, you know, and had not some big rims, but you know, they tried to keep it classic or whatever. But I forget. I want to say it was a Caprice. Let me check it out, and I'll let y'all know. This car. But yeah, if I was doing something I wasn't supposed to be doing that night, which is why I got in that situation. I just thank the Father for saving my life multiple times. And I'm still alive today. Like, seriously. I did some sneaky stuff, y'all. I'm just like, somebody was watching out for me. Listen, let's go back here. One of the earliest and best documented cases of, quote, secondary personality was, end quote, was that of Doris Fisher. Doris, in fact, was multiple. MPD. The first altar had come on board when Doris was only 3. Her drunken father had thrown her down so violently that her head was injured. Another personality emerged when she was 18 after she suffered an injury to her head and back. head trauma, and crime, case histories are brimming with inappropriate, bizarre, or violent behaviors that were forerun by head trauma. Yet the authorities, meaning jurisprudence, are not eager for these factors to emerge, fearing that, quote, extenuating circumstances, end quote, behind criminal acts would weaken the hand of prosecution. They just worry about their case and people being possessed that don't know how to get free and other people dying at their hand. Y'all worried about winning a case. This is crazy. Unbelievable. But the fact remains, some of the most vicious and inexplicable crimes have been committed by individuals with a history of grievous head injury. Of course, law enforcement and their, quote, hired guns, end quote, paid psychiatrists have found a way around this. A casual relationship between the trauma and deviant behavior has never been proven. True enough, but the raw statistics of the matter could hardly be coincidental. See facing page table C1. So we're going to read this chart. We're going to jump over here to this chart on page 271. 89 Cutlass. It could have been. I don't know. I need to find out. I need to find out. Listen, now the police officer said, I just thought about this. The police officer said, if it wasn't for the vehicle y'all was in, he said, we just want to look at it because they found a car. We ended up, the door came open. I don't know who grabbed it because me, my best friend, and her best friend from Chicago, we was all, and we were tiny, right? We, 16 years old? 15. I may have just turned 16. 16-year-old teenagers hanging out. Like, we were supposed to be at my friend Chris's house. We done left and went to Chicago. Doing stuff. I don't want to say because my mama's watching. Might be, possibly. I still ain't told her some of the stuff. But doing stuff we ain't had no business doing with these older guys. Not none of the promiscuous. I mean, it was a little bit of that, but not mostly that, right? We weren't like tricking ourselves out. We was just going upstairs. We was just like going out up there, hanging out in some places. We had fake IDs and all that stuff. We was just hanging out with some of the older people. Yeah, you can take that. But the whole point of saying it was that the police officer said if it wasn't for the type of vehicle we was in, we'd all be dead. Because it was 6 of us in the car. All the boys was in the front, the 3 boys in the front, and us girls was in the back. But I'm more of the mindset now that it was Creator protecting us, or our Ashars protecting us, right? Which is the reason why we all lived, you know. But in the midst of them trying to get away and backing up and flying and going down the alley, I don't know why you would go down the alley. Like, there's people get caught up in alleys, but it wasn't like a one-way alley. You could literally get out. But going through that alley, that particular alley we was in, and we didn't know, we were screaming and stuff. But what happened was one of the back doors flew open. I don't know if it wasn't already shut. I mean, if it wasn't shut good already or what, but we was driving, so we didn't really touch the knob or anything like that. We was all on the floor, but when he hit that corner and was backing in, we were sitting in, so it was the left door that flew open. When the door had flew open, when he stopped, he was like, are they gone? When they said that, we left the boys. They was in the front, like, y'all better go. But we ran out the side. And a particular alley we was in, it wasn't like closed in. It was an alley and it had houses, you know. So the car that was chasing us was still coming, like you could hear it, and the tires screeching and stuff coming around. So, but when that door flew open, I think it was Lisa, she said, let's go. And so we got out and we like grabbing each other. And we get out, we tiny teenagers, 16 years old. And we out and it was dark. So we was able to cut through the houses and hide. And then the boys took off again. We didn't know what had become of them, but we was able to get out. But we still heard gunshots ringing out, and we heard the cars and stuff, but we were no longer in there. We was like out hiding and bushes in this alley behind this house. And my best friend, she had her cell phone. She was trying to call her mama and stuff. And I ain't have a cell phone. Like, I want to call my mama, but I ain't got my cell phone. I ain't even supposed to be here. Now my mama gonna find out I was lying to her. I almost lost my life for lying to my mama. Right somewhere I ain't supposed to be. And I think it was after that. After that experience right there, I think it was after that experience where I'm just like, you know what? I can't really hang out with y'all no more like this. And that's when me and my now husband started kind of talking and everything. And I just like, whatever I did, I was just like with him. You know, he was kind of in the streets too, but not like that. I don't know. I just ended up pregnant. And then I was just in the house all the time anyway. So Elijah, my oldest son, kind of saved my life at that point. Although I was isolated, it stopped me from hanging out with some of the people I was doing some of the things that we was doing. And it wasn't like bad stuff, but it was just sometimes it's like y'all always happen to end up in the wrong places, you know, at the wrong times that could literally be life changing, like take your life, right? So I just became like a hermit inside the house. I like my life. I want to see it out to the end, however far it goes. Right? Okay, so let's go over here to this table. It says table CI, or was it C1? C1 on page 271, paranormal behavior after head injury. So it's giving 7 examples of different people who had their head trauma and what began to happen to them afterward. You feel the same way, BC? I feel the same way. My first one saved my life. Yeah. Okay. So the first. So it has the name, their offense, the trauma, and then the paranormal behavior. Okay. So the first one is Otis Toole, his offense, serial murder, accomplice of Henry Lee Lucas in, quote, recreational killing, end quote. His trauma, hit hard in the head with a rock. The paranormal behavior, seizures, commune with dead mother, voices, urge suicide. The second, Henry Lee Lucas. His offense, hey babe, was matricide and serial killer, rape and mutilation. His trauma, he was assaulted, assaulted his head with board by mother. He was unconscious for 3 days. Sheesh. His paranormal behavior, dizzy spells, blackouts, quote, float in the air, end quote, at the mercy of various forces. The next person is Dennis Sweeney. His offense, he killed a New York representative, Allard Lowenstein, in 1980. Trauma, 1 year after head injury, pump jack accident. His paranormal behavior, voices tormenting him. The next person, Todd Hall. Excuse me. His offense, arson resulting in 8 deaths. His trauma, lobotomized at 14 after skateboard accident, in a coma for 6 weeks. His paranormal behavior, fuse, doesn't think he, quote, did it, end quote, blackout. Next person is Richard Chase. That's the vampire killer of Sacramento. He had 6 victims. The trauma, he was beaten by a gang, head pains. His paranormal behavior, spoke with invisible people, quote, zombie, end quote, motivated by subhuman forces. Markman and Bosco, 1989, page 192. Next is John Wayne Gacy. His offense, he killed 33 people. And I believe, if I remember correctly, it was 33 boys. Excuse me. His trauma, multiple head traumas. The paranormal behavior, fainting, blackout, automatisms, alter personality, paranormal strength. And the last person on this list, no, it's not. Oh, no, it's continued. It's still some more on the next page. The next person is Arthur Shawcross. His offense, serial killer. He killed 11 people. Trauma, multiple traumas to the head, unconscious. His paranormal behavior, OBEs, voices, precognition, paranormal strength, hyperesthesia, alter, fuse. Go to the next page, page 272 of Appendix C. The next one is Danny Starrett. His offense, he was a serial rapist. His trauma, several head injuries and blackouts. His paranormal behavior, him, quote, I feel a presence, another to obey, end quote, lost time. He also had automatic drawing going on. The next person is Gary Heenick. Offense, bondage killer. His trauma, serious head injury in grade school. His paranormal behavior, dizziness, hallucination, quote, divine messages, end quote. The next person, Joe Callinger. Offense, he was a killer. Trauma, beaten on the head with a hammer. Jeez. Paranormal behavior, night terrors, ESP, and clairvoyant. The next person, Ken Bianchi. His offense, he was the hillside strangler. Trauma, falls on head. Paranormal behavior, sees alter and demons, and he also has lost time. Remember, lost time is periods where you black out, and when you come to, or you may not like black out and you on the floor, you could literally just go away and somebody else take over. And when you come back to yourself, when you back in control of your body, you have no clue what you've done for the last couple hours, and some people the last couple days. And they find out when they been picked up by the police and they watching themselves murder people on the camera or robbing stores and stuff. That's me. And they was like, wait a minute, I don't remember any of this. That's the definition of lost time. And that is a number one, that's a telltale sign that there is somebody else living inside of you other than you, right? And there has to have been something that allow your spirit to go into that sunken place, or spirit in abeyance, that fight or flight. You decided to take flight, but somebody got to be living here while you got a living body. So that person, or it could be persons, alters, have entered you. That's lost time in a nutshell. The next person, Peter Sutcliffe. His offense, he was a Yorkshire Ripper. His trauma, several blows to head in accidents. Paranormal behavior, hallucinations, trances, mind reading, hearing voice of God. The next person, Richard Ramirez. His offense, he was the Night Stalker. His trauma, 2 childhood accidents, concussion, and unconsciousness. Paranormal behavior, visions, apparitions, dual personality. The next person is Bobby Joe Long. His offense, he was a rapist and serial killer. His trauma, he was twice hit by a car. His paranormal behavior, OBEs, and visions. And the last person is Richard Speck. His offense, he killed 8 nurses. Trauma, many head injuries. Paranormal behavior, blackouts, lost time, dissociative episodes. Whew. There is some scary stuff, right, Kevin? Whew. All right, so go back to page 270, and let me reread that last paragraph about head trauma and crime before we went to the chart, and I'll just keep flowing. Okay, so on page 269 at the bottom, the last paragraph says, head trauma and crime. Case histories are brimming with inappropriate, bizarre, or violent behaviors that were forerun by head trauma. Yet the authorities, meaning jurisprudence, are not eager for these facts to emerge, fearing that, quote, extenuating circumstances, end quote, behind criminal acts would weaken the hand of prosecution. But the fact remains, some of the most vicious and inexplicable crimes have been committed by individuals with a history of grievous head injury. Of course, law enforcement and their, quote, hired guns, end quote, which are paid psychiatrists, have found a way around this. A casual relationship between the trauma and the deviant behavior has never been proven. True enough, but the raw statistics of the matter could hardly be coincidental. See facing page table C1. And that's what we just read with all those people and their offenses and their paranormal behavior and all that stuff and their traumas. Among criminal offenders, a propensity for altered states due to head trauma still goes unrecognized. And this for legal, not psychiatric reasons, namely to avoid risking a stronger defense that could put a truly dangerous individual back on the streets. Let me tell you something. I don't think they're not thinking about this, right? So they want to strengthen their cases. If they start bringing in this, at least from what I'm observing and what I'm understanding now, this is what they're saying without saying it. Because they don't want to weaken their cases or weaken the prosecution, they want to keep going without looking at the fact that these could be caused by spiritual things happening, head traumas and stuff, right? So they really just want to put a body in jail. We need a body to blame for this crime to keep the world at bay, to make the world feel like they got justice. But are they truly getting justice? Especially if they send them to, they give them the death penalty. Are they really getting justice? See, they thought they was getting somebody dangerous off the street. But all they doing is releasing a spirit that was bound in this person and setting that spirit free and putting them back out there. And the next person in close proximity with this spirit who has a trauma, a moment of fear, where their aura or their spirit is weakened, the killer reemerges. I'm like, is nobody thinking about this? Right? So it will behoove us and law enforcement, hospitals, psychiatrists, everybody, the hired guns, it would behoove them to actually start looking at this stuff and truly helping people get free. Now, your body did the crime, your body still, I agree, your body gonna have to do the time, right? But if there was something more going on, let's get you healed spiritually. Let's get you set free. Yeah, you got to pay the penalty, even if you in there till you die. We ain't gonna put you to death, but you still kind of got to be off the streets for a while, buddy.
Well, you can't say that.
What?
If you take a life, you're supposed to give your life. Your life's supposed to take so.
Listen.
No matter what the cause is, I understand it's not their fault in some way because they probably went through traumas at young ages. Most of them went through traumas at young ages. Mm-hmm. But if you take a life, you give a life. Right,
I get what you're saying, and that's the law, and that tends to happen all on its own, right? Ain't nobody gonna say we're gonna put you to death. Even some people, they die before they make it to the death penalty sometime because somebody else will take their life. But it should. Iman said there needs to be a special place for them. I think there should be, right? There should be in not like throwing them in an insane asylum, nothing like that, right? I mean, I don't know.
But they're doing is they're feeding medicine to try to cure something that's spiritual. Medicine don't cure spirituality.
I agree with that. I completely agree. I gotta write that down. Hold on. That was good, babe. Hold on. He said medicine doesn't cure spirituality. I agree with that, like 100%.
They doing they just feed all people or whoever humans with medicine and hope.
Right.
That's all they're doing. Hope. They ain't gonna tell you
Right, but what we're talking about, what we're learning is we're finding out the deeper cause, right? We know that the body's got to go to jail. You committed, we got to lie about it. You did the crime. But after they do that and they realize that it's a lot deeper issue, like you said, medicine doesn't cure spirituality or lack of spirituality, right? Mom, shalom, shalom. When they find out, they're finding this common link between people who do these heinous type crimes, that something happened, they track a lot of them back to head traumas or whatever type of traumas, right? But when you lock the body up, do you still now you done put the person in another body? It's like they're already locked up. They're already in jail inside of their own body because they have other people.
The spirit's gonna find somewhere else to go.
Right, that's what I'm saying, like, right?
Hey, listen. What you say going to jail? Oh yeah, I was with you when you was killing folks, but you talking about going to jail, locking me up? No, I'm out of here. Period, I'm gone. So he's gone with somebody else.
Right, and the killer is back on the street. Right, that's exactly what I just said, right? Right. So there should be a development in the medical field, the correction, what do you call it? The disciplinary field, like police officers and all that stuff. All of them, correction officers, all those things, to where if they understood this spiritually, like my husband say, it's like, I was with you while we was doing the murder, but now they locking your body up. Pew, I'm out of here. Right? So you're locking a person up, and sometimes the multiples do flee, right? Because that's a form of bondage. And if it depends on what type of spirits have merged with you. Some don't know how to break free from you, but some do. They'll leave you, and they'll just find somebody else. Even if it's somebody else like within the jail, they'll just wreak havoc amongst the jail. But they could just leave you and just like be free. Remember the movie Fallen, we mentioned a few times with Denzel Washington?
Yes,
that spirit that was body hopping, right? The guy at the very beginning that was committing those heinous crimes.
Time is on your side. Yeah, man,
it's on my side. Yes, it is. Listen, when they killed that dude, the spirit left him, right? So they essentially they murdered. I mean, they put to death, gave the death penalty to the person who was murdering people, but that same killer was still back on the street because they're not considering the spiritual side of things. Like the truth, you thought you killed somebody, you just actually killed somebody that was victim of the true murderer, right? So we're still putting innocent people, innocent, not so innocent people to death, all right? There's multiple levels of this. Like, we really need to be considering all of these things now, because, and you need people highly trained in spirituality and truth, that once we free the people, the spirits who are the rogue spirits, we need to do something about them, right? We need to get them from off this plane and push them, because they also, remember, they were one-time humans, right? They have just degraded to a low state where they're deranged and they're causing all type of atrocities. So even this deranged spirit needs to be healed, right? And so there's a place for them, but they don't get that healing here. We can kind of guide them, help move them. We can help our shards, guardian angels, to get them off this plane, to get them to where they need to be. Remember, we'll read in when we get to like Fragapati and Apollo and stuff like that, those books where it talks about are those who are already trained, who are already living in the spiritual realm, the Ashars and Marshals and all those different ones. When they come to deliver hells, you know how they had the rods of fire and the rods of water, because these spirits that are deranged, they're trying to get away, they're trying to cling on to other people, and they literally have to surround them with fire or with water to keep them, to like kind of surround them so they can get them to a place. I remember when I first reading through that, I started thinking about some of the dreams people say they would have when they visit hell and they see these pits of fire and stuff. I'm like, oh, snap. Then I started talking about how Christianity teaches you to see this from one way. Yes, there is a hell, souls are burning. But looking at it from this way, from a higher standpoint, like, oh, snap, it really is. But it's not like what we thought. They're literally being quarantined, right? So they can they can be taken from this plane. So they themselves can be taken to a place and be healed and restored, so they can continue their process of growth, right? Yeah, so it's a whole lot. Hold on, I missed y'all comments. Let me go back up. Tabitha said we have some Chuckies on our hands. Yeah, look. Kevin says spirit possessor kills 10 and innocent captor does life, unaware they even did it. Exactly right. So that's a case of somebody after they've lost time. They was in a sunken place while the spirit that came over and took over their body ran and did these heinous crimes, and then that spirit left. And now the innocent, who he's not innocent, but spiritually, his body is guilty, right? But his spirit is innocent. So you have a innocent victim spirit, the native spirit, and now they have to pay the time for the crime that their body did. Their body is guilty. The vehicle is guilty. Yes, this is the vehicle that was in this murder. We caught it, the hit and run. This was the car, the license plates, everything. This is it, but who's the driver, right? Yo, and that's when you get the plot twist. That's a plot twist.
Listen to this.
Listen, because the car that it was registered to, go in and check the registration that belonged to them. And they banging on that person's door. This car is registered to John Doe. John Doe, where you at? John Doe going to jail. Right? Until you can find out that, listen, I wasn't driving my car. It's registered to you. This is where you now. We got to get an alibi for you. Who can tell that you was in a sunken place or you had checked out for a little bit? Well, who was driving your car? I don't know. It is my car. Like all of this. What you say, babe?
Think about it. When most of these people, when they come back almost like in the mind frame of a child.
They do.
Why? Because it's where that spirit is that's when that spirit entered to them when they was children.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
It's what, think about it. Almost like that's when that trauma happened to them at that time. But when they come back
as that child.
As a child, because that's when that spirit entered.
Right, that spirit. And see, I heard my husband say it. And when you were saying that, I thought about something. A friend of ours had said, this was a few years ago. She was actually talking to my sister, and because my sister, they was having this conversation about something and one particular person. And this particular person had spent the better part of their younger years in jail. They actually went to jail while they were still a minor. And so she was explaining, so she had a little bit of spiritual understanding. I give her that, right? She understood some things. I just thought about that when you were saying that, babe. And she said that he went into jail as a child. And you know, some people, that their bodies grow on you, old men and stuff. But when that happened to him and he had to go to jail for that, that's where his growth stopped. Like he was there. His body was in prison. And now he literally had to live his days out because I believe they tried him as an adult. He was in juvie for a little bit, and then as he grew a little, they transferred him or whatever. But she said that's the extent of his spiritual growth. She said that's where he stopped at right there. How old was he when he went in there? And although how old is he now? He 30? No, if he went into jail when he was 15, he's 15 years old. You're dealing with a 15-year-old in a man's body, right? And the way she broke that down, I'm just like, yo, that was kind of, that was like the first time I heard that. I'm like, well, that's right. That's when that trauma happened. But yeah.
That goes in, like, you know what I mean? Anything, it's not just with this right here. It's with anything that men or women have went through. You get what I'm saying? Even in marriages, you know what I mean? Watch who you arguing with. You know what I mean? You might not be arguing with, you know what I mean, the person.
Your spouse.
Your spouse. You might be arguing with someone deeper down.
Yeah.
And when, you know, some people just,
that is so
just
true.
have compassion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there ain't nobody gonna wake up and say, hello, I'm the devil. You ain't gonna hear that. It ain't gonna ever be like that. You have to look for the signs.
Yeah.
Trust me, it will show.
Yeah, that's so true. I like how he said when you're arguing with your spouse or whatever, you got to be careful because sometimes
I live one every day.
What you say?
I'm joking. Nothing.
You might not be arguing. Like one time I did, like, okay, so I kind of grew up knowing my husband, right? So I would be at his house sometime and I see his parents. And so you know how sometime when you get older, you find yourself saying things that you heard your parents say, right? So sometimes you do that. So some things that my husband would say, I could clearly tell that, you know, I heard his dad or his mom say that sometime being there. And sometimes I would joke, I was like, who's speaking? I ain't gonna say your mom and daddy's name up here. I say, is your mom or your daddy speaking? And he looked at me like, girl, I said it, you know, but I was joking, but that's sometimes we reproduce what's modeled before us. Even sometimes sayings, and not all sayings that we hear our parents say or whatever is bad. It's just a known fact. What we grow up in, What we see, we model it. You know, so that's a really good point my husband brought out. You know, especially when you get in heated arguments and stuff, sometimes you really may not be arguing with your spouse. It could be something deeper, right? It's from a time when y'all were not even together. Like, who are you really arguing with? Are you arguing with something that was seated in them from their past? Could it be something? Could you be arguing with their mother or their father, or maybe a friend or something that's gotten into them, it's become, they've made it a part of their life, but somebody wise could tell, wait a minute, that's not my husband I'm arguing with. That's something else, you know? So that was a really good point, babe. Hold on. Gloria, hey girl, hey. Oh, hold on. It needs to be a special place for them. Kevin's comment, Mom. Okay, set apart said, with people who overstand the spiritual world to take care of them. Oh, okay, I broke your thing up. She said there needs to be a special place for them with people who overstand the spiritual world to take care of them. Okay, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. Excuse me. Then she said we need to discuss this on the Nazarene and Faith and Sisterhood channel. That'd be a good one. Yeah. Gloria said, hey, Gloria, medicine suppresses all diseases, even spirit-possessed people. Yep. That statement was made in the movie Emily Rose. What? I don't know that I'm going to go watch that, but I don't know. Now I'm kind of curious. The movie called Emily Rose. I'm a wait to watch it, though. Make sure my household is completely... Because I've been... Make sure my household is completely up 100 in strength and health and stuff, because I'm also mindful of that. Sometimes you watch movies, different things. Some people may not think it's true, but some things do enter through the TV, right? And if you got a person in the house that's sick and you're watching something, you're not mindful of it, something could come out and attach itself to somebody who's in a weakened state. So I'm mindful of that as well. So some things I said I was going to watch, I haven't had a chance to yet, because that's one thing. Until my children get back to, you know, I ain't got time for the crap. Okay. But that's true, Gloria. Right. Tabitha said, we agree with hubby too. Medicine don't work. Look at the poor people in these institutions. I agree with that. My question is, set apart said, my question is, can a womb be guilty of a spirit's crime? Ooh, that's a good question. You said something. Listen. 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 Here on this plane, the authorities gonna make the womb guilty, right? Because the body is a womb. The flesh, the outer body is a womb for our spirit, right? Listen, she said, my question is, can a womb be guilty of a spirit's crime? Our body is a womb. In a creative sight, they would judge it appropriately, but here on the the less spiritual realm, they're gonna judge it. They're gonna judge it in the opposite fashion. They're gonna look at the body first, right? And the body is here on this realm. The body is always guilty first, according to how everything is set up with the laws of the land. They don't even take into account spirituality. I mean, they do, but it ain't coming near to the case. This is going to mess up the prosecution. You're messing with the church's money.
Real talk.
This is messing with the church's money.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it was supposed to be that way.
I don't believe either. It should be the other way around.
It should be. I believe it once started that way.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at states and government, who gonna fund this?
Right.
Who gonna pay for this?
I'm not
paying for that.
Money.
Lock them up. Let's hurry and get rid of the problem and not fix the solution.
Right. Yeah. So, but and every crime has a dollar amount that goes with it. Murder carries a monetary fee. Murder, stealing, every single crime carries an amount of money, which is why you have fines and stuff. I'm telling you, that's how they run the courts. Somebody got to go to jail for this crime, because we ain't gonna get paid. You're messing with the church's money. But, yeah, okay. Animalistic nature, so true. And some are body jacked by evil spirits. Absolutely, Ima. Look, another question. Chat room, is all crime committed relates to evil spirits? Is all crime committed is it mean related to evil spirits? Now, I think there are some petty crimes that are truly indeed committed by the native spirit. Like, you were in full control when you did that, you know. I mean, but I think it is a very thin line, right? I think it's a very, very thin line. But, yeah. Right, Kevin? Kevin said, your thoughts are not your own. That is possible. Yeah, I believe that. I think it's a very, very good line. A very, very thin line between that. I guess Cain is off the hook for killing his brother. No, I don't.
That was when, I mean, they was walking, no. That was before.
Listen.
Quote unquote sin came into the world, you know what I mean?
That's when it came. Okay, so if we're looking at it from the Bible's point of view, Cain being Cain and Abel, just the one, Cain being one man, Abel being one man. Right, we do know that it's at that point where it came in. But according to Oahspe, Cain is a group of people who just follow the lower ways of life. Like their intent is to do evil. And Abel is those who are righteous, right? So, I mean, Cain ain't off the hook, you know. But I do believe there is inspiration. Matter of fact, listen. If you read, which one is it? If you read, I got them in there. We talked about them a couple times. Books of Remembrance, right? If you read in the Books of Remembrance, though, I think it's the one, Book of Remembrance of Enoch, or it could have been of our grandmothers. It gives a little bit deeper story about Cain. Cain was actually inspired. So them thoughts were not his own. If we bring in some of this other information that we got in, right? Going with that, like your thoughts are not your own. Nobody comes into the world wanting to be evil and do wrong, right? You have to have seen it done somewhere. Somebody has had to taught you. Literally, you're taught everything, right? You're taught right from wrong. Somebody has to have taught you, right? Yeah, and the mark of Cain is war, right? So, yeah, I don't think Cain is not off the hook, but I think Cain could have been stronger to choose whether he was going to commit the wrong or not, right? Whether you're going to do wrong or not. Because we all have that choice every single day. We all got the angel and the devil on our shoulders, so to speak, right? We got different things that come to us. Do this and all. That's wrong. You don't want to do that. Ain't nobody even going to know because ain't nobody watching. Who going to know? Ain't nobody going to know. You going to know. The Father's going to know. All the unseen world is going to know. Ain't nobody looking at the unseen world here. They only looking at physical. So ain't nobody gonna know. Listen to me. No, don't listen to him. It's gonna be crazy. You might go to jail. But ain't nobody gonna know. Perfect. We got the time. Cameras don't even work over here. Everybody got the choice, right? So while you hearing those voices, right, your native spirit has the option to choose. You choose life or death, right? The options are laid bare before you. So it really does come down to us choosing, right? I mean, it's a lot, especially when you're thrown into abeyance or you choose to go in abeyance when you're younger. And listen, your spirit going, and even though they're children, right, they choose to flee, right? The fight or flight, when they're helpless and they can't fight back, they choose to flee, right? I mean, it's done inwardly, and that's all they know to do at that point because their attacker, their molester, abuser, whatever, overpowers them. What can they do? So they're not there. They literally check out. They've chosen to check out to keep themselves safe, so to speak, right? I mean, you can look at this can go in so many directions. You literally have to look at case by case and get all the intricate details on why different things happen because there are different plot turns and twists and everything that could happen and the different outcomes that could come about. Yeah, so Cain is definitely not off the hook, but I do think he was inspired and he just followed the way that he shouldn't have. He made the wrong choice. It is a really broad topic, Tabitha. Yeah, They attack when you are weakened by trauma and desperation. Yeah. Nope, Cain goes along when the wagon comes too. Honestly, nope, Cain goes along. Cain goes along when the wagon comes too. What? I never. There might be a saying I'm not familiar with. I think I understand what you're saying. I think I know what you're saying. Like, I gotta put it in words. Rephrase that for me. I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to mess it up. Like, Cain being the body, the spirit gotta go too. Like, if the body go, the spirit gotta go too. I don't know. Rephrase that for me. I might be a little slow right there. And this why
rephrase his food.
Okay, hold on. This is why people are told not to eat meat. When people eat meat, they intake the animal attributes. Absolutely, there are some vegans that can be hostile too. Yeah, but there's few and far between. I mean, I said I ain't seen all the vegans across the world, right? But if they're still like intaking a lot of processed stuff, they may get attitudes or whatever. But I don't know. It's not as vicious as a meat eater. They just still got some discrepancies about themselves that they need to work out. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Auntie, I'm going to wait for you. Go ahead and rephrase that. Now I'll come back to it. You said, nope, Cain goes along when the wagon comes too. Rephrase that for me so I can read that right. Or, I don't know. Let me finish reading because this is like really the last paragraph, y'all. Hold on. And then we'll be done. Well, the last two small paragraphs. Page 270. Among criminal offenders, a propensity for altered states due to head trauma still goes unrecognized, and this for legal, not psychiatric reasons, namely to avoid risking a stronger defense that could put a truly dangerous individual back on the streets. Nevertheless, our growing corpus of criminal biographies shows an inordinate amount of head trauma. No, this is not any sort of, quote, abuse excuse, end quote, nor rationalization, and certainly not a means to get dangerous offenders off the hook, but only to comprehend the underpinnings of inexplicable, senseless, random acts of violence. And this is the last paragraph. There is so much that remains to be explored. If the law weren't so shy of finding mitigating circumstances, sometimes as obscure as scuba diving, Zodiac serial killer had brain damage, tissue damage from lack of oxygen at birth, and or from scuba diving, quote, too long, end quote. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up skin diving, but he had to quit when he nearly fainted. He had also suffered from rheumatic fever and heart murmur. Chris Longo, familicide, was also a scuba diver. Yet the question remains, was it brain damage per se that set off homicidal behavior, or did that compromised mind become susceptible to controlling spirits? I think it became susceptible to controlling spirits. What y'all think, right? Because remember, back here it shows us even some great prophets and great seers who they also had head traumas. They said there is a difference because they pretty much lived their life righteously and they didn't turn to like serial killers to where they could have, right? They had that same type of scenario going on with them. But instead, the spirits that began to speak to them, and I want to say because their native spirit was so strong, and just like you draw what you are, right? If you're a very positive person, you're going to draw people of that same frequency towards you, right? If you're negative all the time, it's going from bad to worse. Nothing never good happen to me. You tend to draw more bad situations and things going haywire for you. You tend to draw that to yourself, right? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So I think people who were already like predisposed to negative type attitudes, maybe they should look at that too, right? If they grew up in maybe a household or whatever, and it's like, man, I can't win for losing, right? Who thought about that? I can't win for losing. I'm going to choose to lose to win. But even when I choose to lose to win, I still lose. I can't win for losing. So I'm thinking, and it could be a part of it, maybe not the whole, but I think we got to look at that too. And the people who like become prophets and seers, and they don't go down this road, they go into the road of light. Maybe they were already predisposed to positive atmospheres and positive outlooks on life, right? Me, I've always been like, growing up, my parents are just like always positive. My dad was a jokester. They both loved to read. They watched like infomercials and stuff like that. And now I was a child, I grew up watching like infomercials. Like I loved it. Ooh, what they selling at 2:00 in the morning? We got to get this gadget. 4 years old. Put it on your list, mama. It's a little bit of exaggeration. But even today, I like to watch infomercials and things that are informative and like personal development and growth and stuff. Like I grew up on that positive track, which is probably why, like when I had head traumas and stuff like that, I'm just already predisposed. The energy that's already around me, I've already got let's call them a positive spirit team that surrounds me. So it's not too much that could come in and infiltrate my spirit. Like even when I was down, when I had to have that surgery where I was under the knife and they gave me anesthesia and I could feel the difference. My aura was already strong before that happened, so nothing was able to penetrate me. Even when they put my spirit aside so they could operate on my body, they put me in a sunken place for a period of time to operate on me. So my body was already well protected, right? So you got to look at stuff like that too, right? Was it, hold on. Let me just start this paragraph over. There is so much that remains to be explored. If the law weren't so shy of finding mitigating circumstances, sometimes as obscure as scuba diving, Zodiac serial killer had brain damage, tissue damage from lack of oxygen at birth, and or from scuba diving, quote, too long, end quote. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up skin diving. Skin diving. Maybe that's supposed to be scuba. Hold on. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up, it says skin, but I think it's scuba diving because you can't skin dive. I mean, unless you're talking about a sexual nature, you're about to dive in somebody. Y'all get it. Dean Coral, serial killer, also took up scuba diving, but he had to quit when he nearly fainted. He also suffered from rheumatic fever and heart murmur. Chris Longo, familicide, was also a scuba diver. Yeah, this definitely got to be scuba. It's a typo. Chris Longo, familicide, was also a scuba diver. Yet the question remains, was it brain damage per se that set off homicidal behavior? Or did that compromised mind become susceptible to controlling spirits? I think so, especially in light of the fact that these victims of concussion or of brain damage go on to exhibit a great range of paranormal behavior manifestations in the domain of PSI, a mere sampling shown in table C1. And that C1, remember, is this paranormal behavior after head injury. So that is the end of Appendix C. Oh, that's the, I got boiling. That's grapefruit peels, orange peels, lemon peel, and cinnamon. Making my own potpourri. It's kind of clean the air a little bit. All right, so that was the end of Appendix C, y'all. And this was really, really good and informative. Hold on. Okay, let's go back up. Einstein said, it's an old saying, everyone is given a choice to do good or evil, and everyone has to pay the price of their decision. Okay, I get it. Okay, so let's go back up and read the saying. I'm going to have to remember this. Hold on. She said, nope, Cain goes along when the wagon comes too. It's an old saying. About to go to the gym. Oh, you just walked through here because you're cold. Okay, it's an old saying. Everyone is given a choice to do good or evil, and everyone has to pay the price of their decisions, right? That's good. Right, because like we talked about it earlier, I forget exactly where, but I think it's towards the end where Oahspe is showing us that everything, Creator was talking, Jehovah was talking, and he was saying, I'm just kind of paraphrase it, man comes in as a blank slate, And none of the thoughts that he have are his own. He's literally just like choosing based on what is presented before him, right? So like when we're growing up or whatever, we see what our parents model before us, and we start doing the same thing, right? Baby girls or even little boys, they see us sweeping the floor, they want little toys so they can begin doing what we're doing. Like they're blank slates, and we're literally helping them write their lives, help them write their life, right? Just like I seen my parents reading all the time. All of my siblings, all of us, all four of us, my 3 sisters and my brother, we are readers, right? My mom and my dad read all the time, right? My dad would read. He was like a chess master, had chess tournaments and stuff. He would read like the newspaper, chess manuals and stuff like that. Stuff that is like really boring. Like who would sit there and read like a book of statistics? My dad would read stuff like that.
Me and Grandpa would have got along really well because I would have been bugging him and asking him, please teach me how to play chess.
And you know what? And he would have loved that so much, right? But when you got to that stage in life, Grandpa was really trying to keep a hold of his, right? So, but anyway, and my mom, you know, she's like personal development, self-development and stuff. And she's a business head too. She's like manager of the different places she worked and just different things like that, right? So we seen that, you know, and so we just kind of model what we saw, which is good. Those are good things to pull from your parents, right? We're literally just choosing what do we want to do. Do we not want to, or do we want to do this, right? So, okay, thanks, babe.
Anything else? All right.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Oh wait, yeah, I'm about to end this. Can you get them freeze pop popsicles that I got?
Those?
Yeah, or something cold to keep temperatures under control. Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, everybody good with the temperatures, but you know, if they're gonna eat it, just get the fruit ones or them fruit ones that you was getting.
Okay.
Yeah, those, not the one. Yeah, the real ones. Okay. Yeah, because they love them. Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah, I missed your comment up here. Set apart. Ema, she said they had strong ashars to protect them, right? Like some people who have these head injuries, but they still go on, they live life of righteousness, and with these newfound spiritual gifts that they have, they really do what's right, and they, you know, they become prophetic and all other type of stuff, right? They definitely had strong ashars to protect them, right? King Solomon in the Bible, something turned that man to practice idol worship. Yeah, so it's a lot in there. It's a lot of stuff on King Solomon, Tabitha. I got the book, what is it? Is it 32 Demons of Solomon? I think that's what it's called. It's a couple different, I got a couple different ones. One of them is on YouTube, and you can listen. I think it's almost like 2 hours long, but it's really good, though. I didn't listen to it quite a few times. But he was, they call them demons or whatever, but we know that they're spirits. But they have names like one of the big dogs, like Asmodeus, and all these other ones. They give the names. Excuse me. He talked to him, and he asked him, like, what are the names? What do you do? If this is going on, how do you stop this? And they was giving him information. And King Solomon was thoroughly tapped into that stuff and using a lot of this stuff in Israel. I'm just saying. We're talking about somebody in Israel and witchcraft. King Solomon was that dude. So we don't want to talk about that for real, though, do we? I'm just saying. To swim underwater with special equipment such as face mask, snorkel, and flippers, but without a diving suit or air tank. I think I'm the first reader, plant-based eater, non-Christian in my family. Thought I was nuts for a while. You know what? They always think nuts until they realize we not. We might be on to something. I'm like, okay, so what did you say this was again? Now they kind of interested. All right, y'all, but that's it. That's it for today. We're going ahead and get out of here. I know some people spending time with their families today or whatever. Some people celebrating Thanksgiving. Some people not. Whatever. I've just learned to adjust how I treat people on what we call holidays. Some people want to call them holidays. Whatever. Right? Let's stop with all the here's how I look at it, right? I understand the origins of things. I'm not making excuses to celebrate stuff because, like, we really don't for real, right? But I realize what's most important is people, right? And a lot of times, most of these people that we trying to preach to and tell them, oh, this was pagan, this and this and that. First of all, they don't even care at this moment. They really don't, right? Because how they grew up, how they remember these holidays is family and family time, games, good food. And we do this all the time, even out on holidays, right? We love to go places where it's good people, good conversation, and good food, right? That's how relationships are built. That's how communities are built. That's how families thrive, right? Growing up, we had that. We had game night every week, Thursday night when Daddy got paid, right? We got to eat out, whether it was pizza, Taco Bell, or Chinese food or whatever. We know Thursday night was family night, game night. We lived for Thursdays, right? And we kind of made that our own family ritual. To whereas when we grew up, we still do that with our family. Sometimes it's sporadic on what day we're going to use. But even now, even the teenagers, they got a group chat and they all know. They say, listen, we know these is pagan, but we love y'all. Who got the games? Who bringing the games and stuff? And, you know, but now it's kind of, everybody can kind of be spread out just like a little bit because everybody kind of, you know, when you're trying to pass sickness back and forth, everybody got to be whole, you know, so. But it really is. It's really about the people. True, understand the history of why things happen. Teach the truth, right? Even if you get together, some people, they will purposely not do it on these days just to say they don't celebrate the holidays. And it's okay, right? But we tell our children the truth about the origins of different things and stuff. But you know, when you going outside of your house and cousins and stuff, it's like, I don't want to hear that crap. Coming here with all that religious talk and pagan. I'm gonna eat this pork, and I don't want to hear that, right? And when you go in there, you really have to use wisdom with family, because you don't want to isolate yourself. And hear what I'm saying? You don't want to isolate yourself from the people you're trying to reach, especially if you're the only person that's truly really full of light, right? They think they have a light, but it's an artificial light. But if you have truly the spirit of the Creator operating in you, and your eyes are open and you're operating like on a little higher level, you got to kind of look at it sometimes like parents look at children and how they relate to them sometimes, right? Sometimes you can explain some of the deeper things and you can rattle off statistics at them or whatever, and they just gonna look at you like, they're not going to comprehend. It's impossible for them to comprehend, which is why you got to tell them stories, and you got to make it a little sweet, and you got to play games and stuff. So that's how I look at it now, right? I don't want to isolate myself from people that I really want to be reaching. You know, and sometimes we can like really be hard on people, especially on the holiday season, right? And I look at, I'm like, Father, you know what? You ain't do that to me when I was full blown Christianity. Santa Claus is coming to town, right? You ain't never do that to me. Like, you know what? I'm sick of them. Christmas, Thanksgiving, I ain't talking to none of them. They down here doing all this. You never, that's how I look at it. I was like, you never treated me that way. Even in all of this, even with things like Christmases where we may not have had enough or whatever. And clearly the Father knows the origin and understand the pagan of what happened Thanksgiving all these days. But here's the thing. If something is important to us, the Father truly cares about it, right? Like I remember my aunt, her and her kids stayed with us. Like this was before we even moved away to Illinois. They had, they were kind of having like a rough time, you know, but they didn't have as much money as they would have liked, right? But, and I still don't know to this day, maybe they do know whatever, but I do understand. I do know one day somebody showed up one Christmas. Somebody showed up at our door. I want to say it was probably somebody from the church or something that knew that, she didn't really have a lot to give to make sure the children had something. But one day, man, I think it was Christmas Eve, they came to our door with this huge bag of gifts for my aunt and her children, you know, and I'm just like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. And I thought Santa's helper, somebody heard, or they was watching. She was nice. I have a great aunt. They done found our house. And look, They got presents, like all of this stuff, and and when I think about it, and now that I understand now that it's not really Santa coming down through the chimney or elves or helpers, you know what it really was? It was other people who knew about them and saw about them and cared enough, even though, yeah, it is pagan, but children don't really understand stuff like that for real, right? It was people who cared enough about other people to see about them, right? So the way I look at holidays is completely different from how I looked at it last year. And I'm just like, even sometime in my most, I'm going to give you this truth. And I don't care if you don't like it. I'm just like, ooh, Father forgive me, right? Because if I was in that state, would I want somebody to, I mean, there are some times where you have to give some people some hard truth. I'm not talking about that because you have that. But just to run reckless all over people with your knowledge when they're not ready for it, that's wrong too, right? So you'll be looked at just as wrong as somebody who went and murdered somebody. I look at that as nothing different, so the way I look at holidays now, because holidays is a season where a lot of people, depression kicks in. And the stuff that we're learning about now, people take their lives because they may not know that Christmas is pagan or Thanksgiving should be called Thanksgiving or they killed, they may not know all of this. What they're thinking about is family, right? I may not have any. There's nobody here, or they might live somewhere else, and there's nobody that they feel like cares about them enough to see about them, So that's the way I look at this stuff now. I got my feelings about it. Some people, whatever, right? So, but I try to be I try to be kind all the time, but during the holidays, you got your shenanigans, but for real, if you're spiritual, you have any kind of spiritual insight, you will learn to be just a little bit kinder because you don't really know what people be going through for real. And some people can put on a really good show and mask their feelings because they don't want people all in their business, but they really do want somebody to be all up in their business and come see about them. But a lot of people who can really look past the exterior and see that, sis, you got a smile, but what's really going on? Like, how many people can really see stuff like that and care enough just to come see about you? Family here, come spend the holidays with us, right? Even if you ain't doing like the traditional Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner, here's why, and share with them, right? You ain't got to be all, is there a special dish you like? You ain't got no family, we'll make one for you. What do you like this holiday? Even if y'all decide y'all eating Chinese, if they want like a macaroni cheese or something, right? That's how you show people you care, right? Your actions and really seeing about them and not just want to push your agenda on how you should believe, right? But they should be able to see that in your life, not just in your words. It should be in your life. And I think I want my life to speak way louder than my words will, right? Because after I'm dead and gone and my words leave with me, it's going to be how I treated people, what's been caught on like video and how I responded to things and the feeling people got from me. That's what's going to be remembered about me, right? If I never had the ability to speak, I want people to feel my spirit and know that I'm going to see about you, right? All right, y'all. Getting kind of choked up. So let's get out of here. All right, y'all. So it is Thursday, November the 24th. It's Thanksgiving. November the 24th, 2022, day 270 of year 4, reading through the books of the Law and the Prophets, another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1290. We read in the book of Ashon, son of Jehovah, chapter 6 and 7, and both of those chapters fit pretty nicely on page 47. So that one page 47. And then we hopped over in the Field Guide to the Spirit World. We started on page, 267. That's where Appendix C started at. So we finished all of that, 267 all the way to 272. And tomorrow we're going to go all the way back to chapter 5, and we're going to pick it back up on page 115. Let me put this here. 5. Field Guide. All right, y'all. So with that being said, let's see. Father, we thank you for spiritual connections to where when we dwell in families and communities, we not just their bodies, just ignorant bodies gathered together, but we thank you for the spiritual connections where we're able to see about our brothers and sisters truly. All right, y'all. So I thank Father for spiritual connections between one another. All right, so let's see. Key, hey guy, hold on. Yeah, some people be asked, some people be wanting to ask, so sometimes I just put it out there. Tabitha says, Sister Pam, thanks for raising the topic on holidays. I think just like you, it's all about love and family and friends. Yeah, because they gonna come across it. Talk about the topics, the true origin of things, and give them the truth about it, right? And what you got to do, you have to learn how to separate. That's one of the things. They've merged together holidays with family time. They take something, say like Thanksgiving, right? Which was really a massacre of a people here in Guatemala, right? The native aborigines of this land. There was a mass slaughter, and that's what Thanksgiving is, right? But depending on who's telling the story, right, they get to frame the story. So now something that was an atrocity, they have people celebrating. And so they rephrase the story and then they put it together with something that people love, which is why it's so hard for people to separate from these things. And some people they just turn away from it altogether. I get that. Turn away from the error of it, right? Understand what it really is. Understand the story, right? They told you the story wrong, right? Understand what the story is, right? And it was atrocity. But learn how to separate, right? They pair something that's like putting candy, coating poison with candy and giving it to people and like slowly killing them, right? You gotta learn how to separate it, right? Separate the truth from the error. What's true is we do love family. We love good food. We love spending time with people, but this right here will kill us. We can't celebrate this, like ignorantly celebrate this. So that's why I say talk about it. Get to the origin of it, right? This is not what we celebrate. We understand, everybody understand this. Why was this wrong? We shouldn't treat people this way, right? So they're telling us to celebrate something that we know is wrong because we're coming together. We love family. We sharing food, but they killed people and said, celebrate over this. No, we separate the truth from the error, right? This is not what we do. This part though, coming together, good food, family, seeing about one another, this is good. Keep this part. Get rid of this, right? So every time it comes around, reiterate the origins, how it started, so everybody knows the truth. We don't celebrate this, but we do celebrate family. I'm going to see about you to make sure this never happens again, right? It's just the way you look at things, the perspective, right? Holidays were all I look forward to as a poor child. At least I'd get some new clothes. All right, Kat. And some of us, right? Some people may only have got socks, right? But it's okay. What about when you celebrate Christmas in your house and a family member is a Jehovah's Witness? Do they eat the Christmas meal? Oh my God. Listen, I don't know. Okay, so I can't really give you a lot of details on Jehovah's Witnesses. I do have some friends, and I don't know. They could probably give you from their perspective, right? I don't know. But I was like full-blown Christian. So I can't really tell you from a Jehovah's Witness standpoint. I guess they kind of close to Christians. This, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I don't know. You got to deal with it house by house basis and your family members, because everybody got their own set of religious shenanigans that they want to pull during the holidays. That I do know. I don't know. Sometimes you just gotta kind of look past stuff. I don't know. As you grow older, as you grow wiser, you learn how to just overlook stuff, and not even bring attention to it, right? Yeah. Jamia, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. That's it. Global Purpose, shalom, shalom. She said he was in the background watching. I was one. They don't celebrate any holidays. Okay, yeah, they don't celebrate any holidays. But when do they not that they have to celebrate anything, but maybe they had like cookouts or something like that. I don't know. They got to have some kind of family gatherings or something, right? I mean, you just got to at some period in time. Like, everybody got to come together for a cookout or something. I don't know. But here's something I learned too, right? Let me share this, and I know when I heard my husband pull back up, I'm gonna get off. Listen, so when I was first learning about the holidays, the holy days, the holidays, whatever you want to call them, right? I was like, oh my gosh, what? And remember, we read through, it's been 2 years. Remember, we read through Fossilized Customs, right? Let me see if it's right here. I have it down here. I may have it. I may got it on my other bookcase. Yeah, I think it's on one of my other 2 bookcases. But that's when, I think that's when Jen, I know Jen sometimes watches from the background a lot now. But Fossilized Customs, and I'll share that, right? Fossilized Customs. And I'll try and go back to, I'll find where I was reading it. We read through that whole book. It's like 200 something pages. But Fossilized Customs is a book that goes through the history of all these holidays, the root of it, all of this stuff. Even like the different gods that was worshiped, Sire, you got Mithras and all this. That is really good, right? It's a really good history lesson. We learned a little bit higher truths when you come here and you look at some other stuff, but we read through that and it goes through there and it talks about that. But when I started going through, I'm like, well, shoot, what we gonna do all year then? Like, we ain't celebrating birthdays because the cake, we baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. Like, when you read through this, I was like, oh, what we gonna do? Like, we gotta count our birthdays. And mind you, listen, growing up, we ain't think about we baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven. We're like, happy birthday for another year of life, baby. Right? Happy birthday, it's my birthday. Right? We ain't think about none of this. Now we growing up spiritual, like, oh my gosh, all this time we thought we getting you a cake. We baking the cake to the Queen of Heaven. Like, who thinks about this, right? So now it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be doing nothing wrong. Father, forgive us. You know, not that we was doing that, but we're like celebrating life. Like, this is your day. You know, sometimes people can go a little overboard and some people get spoiled. You know, I get it, right? There always is an imbalance of one end of the spectrum or the other that sometimes people tend to slide to, right? So he was just trying to bring that balance. And I said all this because I remember talking to my uncle and he said, because I was like really struggling with this. I'm like, okay, so Christmas, what you mean baby can't have no Christmas? What we supposed to do when all the other the whole world is celebrating Christmas? Like it would really be depressing because it's like, okay, first of all, we can get away with this when the kids are just a little bit younger, right? But what we gonna do? Are we gonna stay in the house from Halloween to maybe a week or 2 after January to New Year? Because Halloween time, they start bringing out all the Christmas decorations. Like Halloween ain't even got to fully be over yet, right? They already start putting out their Christmas lights, right? And even though Thanksgiving comes first, they start doing all this, and children like, lights, pretty, oh my gosh, Christmas presents. Children are not thinking like, oh, this pagan holiday, we should be doing this because you're baking cakes to the Queen of Heaven, and this wasn't really Jesus' birthday and all that. And children are like, what? So is you not gonna get me a toy? Right? So my uncle said he said something that was I thought was really profound. He said to me, Pam, you can't sleep 6 months and just ignore the world. I'm like, I didn't ask for any of this. Why all of this stuff got to be changed, right? So it's like, how do I tell this to my son, right? Me and James hadn't gotten married yet, and Elijah was 6. Was he 6? No, we got married when he was 5. So, but anyway, he said, here's what you have to do. He said, think about this. He said, if children are playing with something, like say they have a toy, right? Say children exploring younger, they go pick up maybe a pen or something, and they looking at this pen, but this could be dangerous. They could poke their eye out. They could do something. They could write on your furniture, put a hole in something. If you go take that pen, and a child don't really know that this thing is dangerous, right? They don't really know it's dangerous. But you do with the foresight, and you can see you could possibly hurt yourself or destroy something. He said, what you're going to have to do with a child is, he said, when you take that, don't just take it away. Now they're throwing a tantrum, right? Because you didn't just took their toy, what they perceived to be something that was good for them to play with. He said, you can't just do that with children. He said, you have to replace it with something. He said, so when you take that away, let's use Christmas, for example. He said, you could replace it with Hanukkah, right? I was like, how so? I don't even know nothing about Hanukkah. He said, well, look into it. He said, it's other things you can do, you know, because Hanukkah is what? It's called the Festival of Lights, right? And so, I mean, we're going to put up lights, right? But we not doing like the Christmas lights and stuff, but I like lights. I like decoration. I like festive stuff. Like, I'm really bubbly. I like, you see all my different color head wraps? I'm like, I want to be that house. It's like, oh, pretty lights, pretty flowers. Like, we're like colorful, right? And to be when the holidays come, you know, a lot of people, they just like to show their personality in their dress, house, decoration, whatever, right? But Hanukkah is the Festival of Lights. The whole Jerusalem was lit up, not just one day, like Christmas. You get one day, you got Christmas Eve, and everybody building up, you getting presents and all this stuff. But Hanukkah is 8 days, right? All of Jerusalem is lit up, and for 8 days, you look at this. I know they lump everything into Christmas on like one day, all your presents here. But Hanukkah, he said, you could do that. You can transition here and just kind of think about how you want to do this and teach your children about truth and error. He said, so you could substitute. He said, you're not taking away Christmas. So he said, it's not really that you're taking away Christmas. You're trying to teach them the truth, right? But you can't just like take it away and we ain't doing nothing and everybody else, because you know, you got to go to school, you seeing all this, and they come back to school, what you get for Christmas? You know, all of these things, right? You have to consider like all of these things, because now if we stayed, like if we were a separate people where we controlled everything, so we don't have to worry about kids coming back to school, we celebrated Christmas, we did this, we don't live in that type of community. We live amongst people who go to the same places, children go to the same schools, and they all have different backgrounds. You got to be wise in the way you present this and teach your children, because you could possibly put them in a situation where everybody's coming back. And that's not something we want to do. And clearly, we all want our children to be able to stand on their own. And you shouldn't be bothered by any of this. But seriously, that don't really work with children, right? Because they become drawn in and they feel like they're less than, or why didn't I get something? All my classmates said that they got this, and why don't we do this? So you're gonna start more questions. You're gonna have children who are gonna be upset. They're gonna become withdrawn. They could be possibly be teased, which is gonna bring in another whole dynamic on things that you're gonna have to deal with. So he said you can kind of fix it. So when you take something away, replace it with something. Learn about Hanukkah, and each day, and it's not about receiving presents, it's about actually giving, right? And so for 8 days, teach your son about each day. Each day represents something, where it's creativity, whatever it is, each day, something like that. And you can teach them, you can build strength of character and fortify their spirit, so that way now they have a tradition or something where they can come into the midst, and they won't be so swayed so much by Christmas or whatever. You can teach them about it. They give them a really good education, but allow them to choose, right? So it's like, this is really good. So that's how I tend to look at things right now. And it can be hard, especially for our children. I homeschool, so they don't have to go in school looking at this. But we do live in a neighborhood full of kids, and they're friends with all these kids now. And all the kids tend to come on this little cul-de-sac now, right? I don't know. I think we kind of brought a little uproar here, with our 4 kids, and now they be out here playing. And the other little kids, we didn't know there was this many kids over here. And my neighbor right across the street, now she like, that neighbor, would you stay off the grass, please? You got stakes out with caution tape, so can't nobody walk. I'm like, oh, we was the cause. Oh my gosh. I'm like, you know what? That's real petty. Like, you know what? We're gonna act like she didn't do that. So we gotta talk to kids. Listen. Don't ride over there on this sidewalk in front of her house. Stay over here, because all the kids come, they switching bikes, and everybody riding each other bikes and scooters and stuff. We was the cause of this, right? But older people, and rightfully so, they liked their peace. They didn't know we was bringing the neighborhood, the cul-de-sac down here is going to congregate to this cul-de-sac. And my sister, who bought a house around the corner, next cul-de-sac, and her girls are all, and it's, you know, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? So really, just really think about people during the holidays, and, you know, just be a little extra kind, you know, because different people dealing with different things. And like I said, some people are lonely. Some people are thinking about taking their life, and we shouldn't, as us being children of light, we shouldn't, especially during these times, I think we should take extra special care, because we shouldn't be one of the ones that push people over the edge and make them think like they shouldn't really be thinking like, why am I here? You know, I don't want to live anymore. You know, we shouldn't be that one to push them over the edge, right? When they leave our presence, they should be like, you know what? This is not so bad. I think I can make it another day. Even if it's not even that, at least they know they got somebody that'll see about them. Or you know what, you can call me. My phone is always on. Send me a text, call me, whatever you need to talk. Give me a call, right? You know, so that's I just look at holidays different right now, you know, so. But yeah, it can be quite messy with a bunch of religious people on the holidays. So it's just like, yeah. All right, y'all. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see the comments. My husband ain't pulled back up yet. Hold on. Global Purpose said, I was one day, don't celebrate the holiday. She was saying she was a Jehovah's Witness. My folks eat the food, Pam. Write your own reason for the celebration. Just don't participate in the narrative. I like that, Kevin. They celebrate wedding and anniversary, Jehovah's Witness. Okay, they celebrate wedding and anniversary, but dog, I mean, for the rest, I mean, cheesy peace. Glad I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. I would have been a rebel from the beginning. They observe, Jamil said, they observe baby showers, wedding, and the resurrection. Their family gatherings are not connected to holidays or birthdays, okay. No, they would do weddings and funerals, if not in a church, but do, quote, so-called, unquote, wholesome gatherings with other witnesses. Yeah. You know, I didn't even realize it. There's a Jehovah's Witness, what you call them? They're Jehovah's Witness church. But anyway, it's one right down the street we noticed, because we had never paid attention to it. I thought it was like a funeral home. I really did. And in a way, it probably is. Because close, like there's the building right here. And over here, there's like a cemetery. I thought that was like a part of the cemetery. But one day, and I went, and I looked at it, so I was like, holy crap, that ain't a funeral home. That's a Jehovah's Witness place. And me and my husband started laughing. He said, I thought it belonged to the cemetery. We really did, because they was having some type of event, and people was walking in, which drew our eyes to the sign. I was like, oh, snap. That don't belong to the cemetery. That's actually a church. It blew my mind. Yeah. All right. Oh, Kingdom Hall. Okay. Tabitha put it up here. Not church. Kingdom Hall. Okay. All right, y'all. You were saying that I thought I was about to end. Like one of them long-winded passes. All right, I'm about to end. Ending it for the 5th time. What threw me off, I started to come back reading y'all comments and stuff. Oh, that's my husband. All right, y'all, I'm about to get out of here for real now. All right, I love y'all, and I'll see y'all back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Peace. Let me get out of here.